Hello and welcome to the Back of the Nest match review. Oh, wow. I mean, a lot to deal with there. So obviously I'm Chris Hambling, I'm not D, he's not here. He knows. He knows in advance when these performances are coming and he wheels me out of semi-retirement, sits me in front of the camera and I just have to deal with it. And but luckily Tim's here with me. Hi Tim.
Hi, Hambo. Yeah, brutal, terrible result.
Yeah.
Terrible defensive performance. Gifted a lot of goals. You know, unfortunately, I've been a Palace fan long enough to have seen. Usually, it's like once a season we take a proper beating, and we took a proper beating today.
Yeah, we really did. Couple of things to address before we get going. One is that I am very, very rusty. I have been out of action for a while. But yeah, so apologies for it being a bit of a ramshackle show. Probably like Tim, I don't have a huge amount of time either, which is actually a blessing
That's good.
rather than anything else. Yeah, so
Yes.
we'll rush through this one. You'll notice our background looks a little different. Yeah, part of that is because it will annoy D, but mainly it's because we want to make sure you can see our sponsor, Comavi, up there in the top right. If you're following us on socials, you'll see they run competitions all the time, winning tickets, and those that have taken advantage of those competitions know that they are real competitions, they are real tickets, and some people have had some lovely experiences, including tickets in the exec boxes and things like that. So keep an eye on our socials, particularly on X at the moment. That's where a lot of that detail goes out. So even if you're, shall we say, not a fan of that particular platform, if you've still got an account, just look at us, nothing else. It's fine. We don't do anything dodgy. So yeah, I might switch it away from the confetti at some point because it feels a little bit like
Yeah.
it's not really a party atmosphere.
No.
But we were, as you were saying pre-show, Tim, we were generous today, weren't we?
Oh my goodness.
Suppose
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah. Congratulations, Arsenal fans. 6 gifts given under the tree from Crystal Palace Football Club
Yeah,
for four goals that we just absolutely gave away. 4 incredible gifts. That was just shocking defending.
yeah.
And then Mateta missing a sitter, and then Sar just gets his header wrong. I mean, this I look, Arsenal has more quality. They have more
Hmm.
depth. They have more resources. We all know this. This is who they are. I understand that. But at that point,
Yeah.
Hambo, if we convert those 2 chances at about what, let's say like the 53, 55-minute mark in the second half, we're 3-3. It's a different game.
It really is, yeah, yeah. And
But we
we
missed
know
both of them.
football. We know football. Things hinge on those moments, but we
Absolutely.
were well beaten. And look, I want to give some of the credit that is due to Arsenal. I wouldn't say
Absolutely.
they weren't massively outstanding, but the result was outstanding. And you've got to hand it to Arsenal fans when they're giving you stick because they've got a 5-1 scoreline.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting to note, the conversion rate today for Arsenal was very, very high. It was
Yeah.
35% of chances. We actually had more attempts at goal than
Right.
Arsenal did today. We converted 6%. So that tells you where the game was really
Yeah.
won and lost. And I think as well, I know I haven't seen any comments or anything like that. I know Glasner's going to be incredibly upset today because
Sure.
he talked pre-game that we didn't quite in the cup game in the second half in particular. We didn't quite get the overload on their right-hand side right in terms of the defending. You look at it today, especially look at those average positions. If you want to, easy way of looking at that, jump onto whoscored.com, look at the match report there, look at player zones, look at the overload on their right, and then look at how we set up to deal with that. And if you were thinking as we were conceding the goals, we seem a little light at the back there. We were. We
Yeah.
were very, very light at the back there. And it wasn't, you can look at the actual goals, you can look at the incidents and say, okay, Lacroix could have done better there. You know, Richards in particular could have done better on a couple of occasions. You start thinking that way. But actually, by the time it got to the centre backs having to do that defending, there was so few bodies around them and so much uncertainty in a lot of what we play today that when those set pieces came in, people just didn't seem to know what to do, and very frustrating to watch.
Very frustrating to watch. I would put a little bit more Hambo on Klein. I don't think I think Kleiny had a bad game, especially for that second goal that Jesus gets. He's slow to get out to him. He's also out of position. It's a bit of a cluster there. We don't handle the ball when it comes in, and so he gets. I mean, he got two wide open looks, and a player of that quality is never going to miss them when you have two wide open looks like that. So
Yeah.
I thought Klein didn't have a very good game, but I think you're right. You know, we're very out of position, got drawn out of position a lot.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I just think, look, picking out Klein, you're bang on, Tim, because look, I think you have to look realistically at the situation and say if in 2024, very nearly 2025, you are starting Nathaniel Klein in the Premier League as
not
your
good.
right wing
Yeah,
back,
yeah,
you've got problems. And I'm not being disrespectful. He's been a wonderful servant for Palace in
absolutely.
both spells, and he's still a very, very good footballer. And I don't think he's looked much better for Palace than when he was playing as centre back on the right hand side there, and certainly as a right back, as a right wing back in a game against Arsenal. No, it and it shows how we're like there, and it really gets to the biggest point. Watching that game before Arsenal scored all their goals, at 1-1, I'm watching our shape and I'm watching how we're playing, and my my immediate and consistent thought was the wide areas are our problem. They really are, because it's interesting. Saar, going forward, Saar has learned how to play more centrally very, very quickly and picked up. So it
And he was
doesn't
good
feel like,
today, by the
no,
way.
he really was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He's going to keep going trajectory wise. He's got
I
a lot
agree.
more to come.
I agree.
So like those things are looking really positive. But with no Munoz in there, we're so unbalanced. We just don't look like, because you need a massively good engine getting up and down, and Ty has that on
So
the other side.
can I ask
But
you about that, because
mm,
this is we've had two results that I would say were massive disappointments and real letdowns, and they were both at home. Fulham, Hughes doesn't play, and Hughes has been massive for us this year,
mhm.
and we got done in that Fulham game. This one, Munoz is not playing, and we get done in this game. Are those guys really that? I mean, are we so thin that those guys are that important to this side? Because just on balance, if you look at nothing else and you just take that one data point, those two guys out in those two games, we were terrible in both of them. And those have been two very influential Palace players this season.
I think that's very fair. Yeah. I don't really, can't really disagree with what you said. It is what it is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. I mean, it's harsh. On the one hand, it makes me love Daniel Munoz so much more. And oh my God, how did we get that
Mm.
guy for 6.8 million pounds and no sell-on fee? How I don't even what black magic did Dougie do to get that one over the line? That is incredible. What a signing. On the
When you,
other hand,
yeah,
but you're exactly right. Wingback cover, I would now argue I was really thinking. So I'm and if you think I don't know if anybody wants to join, but do you have the link? If anybody does want to join, do you have a link to drop in?
I have just chucked it in the chat now because
Okay,
I am massively out of practice. I, of course,
that's all right, man.
I haven't
Um,
yet pinned it. But there you go. We have one
there
of
we
our
go.
regular callers.
Yeah.
Um,
So, but I just quickly before we
yep.
bring Chris on, um, just on this point, like I think you're exactly right here. Very unbalanced. So originally I had said we absolutely have to have left wing back cover. I still believe that, but I now think it's not just left wing back cover here. It's not just that. We need cover and competition on both sides, because we cannot afford to have that kind of hole in right wing back. Holy smokes, did we get exposed today?
Yeah. We really did. And as I was getting to, really, I think Glasner's mentioned having cover for Tyreek Mitchell as being a priority in January, which it must be. Um, you know, Kfora's not ready for week in, week out in the Premier League. And you've got to ask questions about, if we lose Munoz for a longer spell, and it's not just, a couple of bookings and losing him for it's bad luck to lose him for both games against Arsenal. But we've got to be a little bit careful there, because we have lots of people that can play on that side and can do a job in that position.
Yeah.
But doing a job is very, very different to, maintaining good momentum and pushing ourselves up the league, which we have to do.
Absolutely.
We're still right down there. We've still got tough games coming up, and the Premier League is a nightmare for losing games that you should win. So we have to, when we have opportunities, and we had them today and we didn't take them, it doesn't matter that it's Arsenal, and it doesn't matter that the end score was 5-1. It's a game that we threw away. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm not a massive fan of the attitude of Arsenal fans in general, but I appreciate that they've got 5-1 today. So have a go. But
fair play. You're right.
But they weren't an outstanding Premier League title winning team.
No, not today.
On that display, we gave them too much respect in the cup, and we gave them too much respect today, and that's frustrating. Anyway, I'll shut up. Let's get Chris on.
Yeah.
Right,
there he is.
Good
How are you,
back,
sir?
Hambo. I'm good.
Nice one.
Goodish. Anyway, yeah. I just really agree with what especially your last comment about everything that you two have said so far. In that, there's spells where I was thinking Arsenal were a bit like Stoke in some ways, just praying for their corners and throw-ins. There's other times that they did look a bit like they had something about them. Don't think they'll be winning any titles this year, but obviously they are better than us, and especially as in midweek, the quality they brought off the bench compared to our quality, bless them, the kids and Schlupp and whatnot, it's not much of a contest. But there were some positives, like going forward. We always seem to have ideas to get through them going forward. And there were a couple of glimmers, especially at the restart, the second half. Sarr could have changed the game completely. But it's been a lot out this season, like not getting ourselves a 2-goal lead. Not in a winning lead today, but I mean like not taking advantage of the little margins, and a little bit of misfortune how the rebounds fell. But we seem to win a lot of the first ball and then just freeze, and Arsenal were quickly onto it. So it's disappointing. The results are a little harsh, but we were slightly outclassed today. I think more than we were on Wednesday, probably.
Yeah. You mentioned something there about the there were moments where they were playing for a corner and just trying to get themselves to a place where they could get a set piece and try to get one on us. I don't know if this is sour grapes, so you guys tell me. I was furious that Arsenal and honestly kind of embarrassed for them that they're time wasting in the first half, Chris. They're time wasting in like, what the hell is this?
No, the commentator on the not quite legal stream I was watching, it was USA stream. So you had Graham Lasso and Drury, I think it was.
Yeah.
And actually, for the first half, I thought Lasso's voice, it sounds quite similar to Keown's, bizarrely. And I thought it was Keown because he was quite biased about it. But there was a part when he built up to their second goal where he says, who was it? Richards basically got fouled for their corner. It could have been a foul. It wasn't like a clear-cut foul, but it was one that you've seen given. And he said, the player cleverly wraps his leg around Richards to win the corner. I was like, that's a very interesting way of saying he just fouled him. But yeah, there we go. But no, it was a bit like that. I know that they used to hate Stoke because all the Ramsey stuff and that, and it was a bit ugly with that Stoke hate and Arsenal hatred that was going on. But sometimes they do remind me of it, and very quick on their counter. But there was also I'm not going to say that that's all they are, because they're not. That's not all they are. They had lots going forward, lots of pace, lots of ideas, really strong bench.
Yeah.
But they're infuriating. At least this referee had a lot more control than the one on Wednesday in terms of booking him early.
He did get control later, not early on.
Not early enough, but no.
Yeah.
But he showed that he was there. At least he showed he was in attendance today, like the one on Wednesday.
Yes.
So it's a lot of dark arts, as they say, kind of Bournemouthy under Howe, or even Newcastle under Howe. just frustrating and trying to break up a game, which they probably would have wanted to actually try to play football. But when they did start towards the end, when it was a bit more open, you could see they had the ability. And I don't begrudge it too much. The main thing is that we beat Brighton and now trying to squeeze some positives out of it. We've now had Hughes a little bit rested for half an hour. Mateta had a break. Doucouré got some minutes. Lerma didn't get booked again, so he could play his old team. And Devaney got a run out. I thought Devaney broke up play a few times, like as in Arsenal's play. I'm not sure if the Rice goal was his fault or is that just because it's Declan Rice and he just stole the yard and did very well with a great finish. But other than that, I thought Devaney was probably the better performer out of him and Doucouré. But again, Doucouré's not at his peak at all. And no, it wasn't all doom and gloom, but it was a bit like, oh crap, it's just not going for us, is it?
Yeah. I think we got to be. As you've picked a few things out there, I think that are really worth thinking about. And that when you look at Doucouré coming in particular, we know what a player he is. And the question is, how is he going to get to that point without game time? You know, how is he going to get back? And we're trying to manage that a little bit, I think, and that's just a really difficult thing to do. You know, Wharton is now out for an extended period, as I'm sure we all know, after some issues following the surgery. So we're going to have to rely on. I mean, Lerma and Hughes as a two are pretty good, but I think Lerma, it's sort of been hinted at. 90 minutes is hard for him at the level he needs to be at. So he's one who sort of drops off at around 70 if he's still on the pitch. Hughes is in uncharted territory, really, isn't he? So you're right, that 30-minute rest can probably do him good. But we really don't have the kind of strength in depth in terms of people with minutes in the legs that we probably ideally would want to have. And that's just been caused by some bad injuries at bad times. And you can get all the players in the world back. But I mean, look, we were kind of a bit spoiled with the likes of Wilf, he would be injured out for 3 weeks, come back and still be straight at the level almost immediately. We've had players like that, but Eze is one, for example, who, if he's out for a couple of games, when he comes back, it's 3, 4, sometimes 5 games before he's firing again. And if he goes out again, you basically lose a season from him if you're not careful. And that's where we are. You know, Eze's rested today because of a swollen foot, but you know, on his day, he's our best player, and people are saying drop him, he's not good enough. But you've got to have that, because you know we had Kamada in there today. I don't need to say too much more. I'm really happy he's looking. The time he's had out of the team seems to have benefited, but he's still a mile away from being up to it at the level. I'm not saying he's not a good technical player. He is. He's a very, very good technical player, but pace, strength of the Premier League is just not there right now, and it might be next season before it is. So yeah, we need our best players, I suppose, is what I'm saying in a roundabout way.
Yeah. You could tell we missed Munoz today, although he's basically been playing as far forward or further forward sometimes than Sarr. He's basically like another striker sometimes. It's just, I don't know what it is about his presence down that flank, but as pointed out before, Klein seemed to be really good at centre back for us. I didn't think he had it in him, but he was really good there, so credit to him. And now he's back on the right flank. It doesn't seem to suit him very much, but Kapora probably didn't fancy another afternoon against Trossard so soon, and Glasner saw that too. So he went with what he could, and it's, as you say, trying to squeeze his players. And if he's going to keep constantly putting the best team out in the cups the whole time, then maybe that is a time for Doucouré to start and get some minutes in the legs, or maybe not Schlupp in terms of Mitchell. But again, Mitchell played the whole game. I think he didn't. I thought he was going to put Schlupp on at left and give Mitchell a couple of minutes off. And then when the number came up, it wasn't Mitchell's number, because I thought, again, if we're going to rest our key players, he's one that should probably come off. Yeah, or even someone like Chalobah for Gahey on a yellow. I thought Gahey was probably our better defender out of the back 3 or 5 today, but he could have come off. He's had a lot of minutes and England duty too.
Exactly. No, it wasn't a good day for that defence anyway. You could have made an argument for just kind of writing it off in those last 20 minutes and just giving everybody a rest. I don't know, but look, it was a It was a frustrating time. I think. Look, I want to give it another bit of context. There was something I was looking that came up on the Sky coverage towards the end there, which was, Arteta's in his 5th year there now, which is pretty good at Premier League level, especially for a club that have lofty aspirations and should we say don't always achieve. But over those 5 years, I think it said net spend. So apologies if it's just spend and not net spend, but I think it was a net spend of 729 million. So I think if you put that context in there and just say, look, they finished better than us today, and they were better on the ball than us today, you can kind of accept it. But I don't like accepting a 5-1. But I can accept a 5-1 when we actually did try, not just to get something from the game. We tried to win it today. We really did. And I think we have to take results like this, don't we? If we're going to give Glasner the reins and trust him.
Well, a very desperate positive would be that we probably would have got the same scoreline under, let's say, previous manager or managers recently, but we wouldn't have gone in there half very much. At least we went in them a little bit today. So, yeah, that's a very fantastic, happy positive for you to leave on.
Well, on that point, I'm curious if you think, because we've had a manager in the past where we've had these sorts of results where we would go for it, and then sometimes we'd get battered and sometimes we'd win 5-4. So I'm taking you back to the Pardew days. So does this feel different than a Pardew-led team? It does to me, but I'm curious how you think about it, Chris.
Well, that's a good question. I think there's a bit more to it. He's shown a lot of stubbornness in sometimes not thinking about trying to forward it back at least for part of a game or something, especially like a day like today where the game's gone. I'd like to have a bit more in terms of collective spirit than we probably did under Pardew, and it wasn't about egos as much, but that's only rumours. But there were a couple of goals today where I was like, I'm not saying I miss it, but we would not let that goal in under a Latin Vieira or like a Roy type team defensively. I was like, oh, that's such a stupid goal to let in. That's the kind of goal that a League Two team lets in the FA Cup against a Premier League team. We shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't miss that football, Josh. We'll see if he can tweak it, if a window does help him. But again, we got to get context. It was Arsenal before that. We had a nice run before they ruined our Christmas.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yep.
Anyway.
Nice one. Chris.
Good to see you again, Hambo, and nice to see you again, Timo.
Take it easy. Good to see you. Take care, man.
Take care. Thank you. Right. Fantastic from Chris there. If you do want to get in touch yourselves and have your say, by all means do. I'm not sure exactly how much longer we'll be on, but a little while, Tim. You've got a little while.
I got about 20 minutes left.
There you go. So
let's if we can, let's talk a little bit about the attack here. I want to get more on what you saw with Kamada, and I want to ask it to you this way, Hambo.
Yep.
Would it have been better for you to start a Devaney over there, knowing that Ebbs is not available? He's a natural left footer. We know he can finish with his right. We saw him finish with his right, but he's a left footer. So he's not going to be the one who's coming in and cutting in on his left foot. So I have thought that if he's going to sub on the 10s, I thought he would be a natural sub for Sarr. But there's a lot of people I have seen that have said, you know what? Kamada is, maybe to your point, maybe he's not up to it. Is Devaney somebody you would put in that position?
Yeah, I think so. And again, probably with the benefit of hindsight here, I have to say, when I look at Kamada off the bench against Brighton, I thought really, okay, look, he earned a start today, and obviously, we had the game a couple of days ago in the cup as well. We got some minutes, but I think today he kind of earned the right for how good he was off the bench. But I think that tells you a lot. It tells you a lot that him coming into a game where some other players on the pitch, the majority of players on the pitch have played 70 odd minutes, or probably a bit less than that against Brighton. But anyway, they've played, at least a half more than he has. I think he's at the right pace. He's at the right level, and you got to see what a good player he can be. He's very tenacious, works really hard. So I can absolutely see why Glasner would pick him today. But as I say, with the benefit of hindsight, if you'd asked me before the game, I would have said give him a chance. Now I think huge mistake. Devaney has done nothing wrong. But Devaney is a work in progress as well, and you've got to look after him, because if he starts and we get hammered 5-1 today, and then Kamada comes off the bench and looks decent, you say the same thing the other way around. Why are you picking this kid over a guy with European pedigree, international footballer that you're paying a lot of money every week? Why do that? So it's one of those, isn't it? The evidence in front of you kind of just could push you either way, really. But
yeah, look at this one from this is interesting from Martin, and I'm assuming, Martin, you're asking this because of the score line. Has the Premier League got that much harder, or if players just become soft and incapable of putting in strong and consistent performances? I'll start this, Hambo, and you tell me what you think. I don't think I don't think we are soft, or the inconsistent performances are necessarily a result of player quality. I think today, in some degree, at the risk of making an excuse, I don't like this excuse because it's a bad one. But we don't have the depth. And I mean, Mateta was leggy last game. And I wouldn't be surprised if his missing is in part because he's a little bit tired. So I don't know that it's softness, but I do think the Premier League has gotten harder, and it's to the point that you made before, Hambo, is that in some ways, I mean, I'm a finance guy, so I follow this stuff, but I hate that it's a spreadsheet league. I really do.
Yeah.
I hate that it's a spreadsheet league. But it is a spreadsheet league. And so when Arsenal have much more depth than we do, coming into a match that we have to be on the pitch on our day, particularly when at first kick in anger, we've got to be 2 or 3 times better than they do. Because once it gets late into the game and they can start dipping into their bench to make game-changing substitutions, they now have an advantage. So we have to jump on them early. That's the way the game is, to some degree.
I think you can. You gave a really, really good answer there, and I was sort of thinking I'm going to double down and start talking about margins and percentages, and because that's what you're talking about here. You're trying to find, through performance monitoring and statistics and measurement and metrics,
any kind of edge you can get. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely right. And yes, that's very, very different. But if you want to ask the question, has the game changed? Then just look at the players. There are players. I mean, look, you've got people like Vardy, who smokes 20 a day and exists on Red Bull, who kind of buck the trend, if you like. But the majority of going back a while, players were, they were down the pub after games. They were smokers, heavy drinkers, all sorts of stuff, eating the wrong things. Now you've got, a real intensity around diet, and maybe not for all the players, but, certainly should be. And it's a very, very different game. And it's not just the intensity of the Premier League, it's the scrutiny as well. But I would say, in the time I've been watching football, I can get very nostalgic, and I can think back to the couple years where we were excelling as a team, being my kind of formative years as a Palace fan, and watching that team. And it was a very direct, very physical team.
Mm-hmm.
But they probably weren't fitter than the team that we have today by any stretch of the imagination. It's just everything is quicker. If you just sat there and played the way that we played under Koppel in the Premier League today, you'd just be relegated, because it's just not sophisticated enough. It would be telegraphed. It would be very obvious what was happening. And you can look at it today. Like, again, think about the overload that we kept seeing, particularly on the right hand side. It's very hard to do anything about it. It's coming, but it's been well worked. Mm-hmm. Look at the set pieces from Arsenal today. Look at how often, when that ball was cleared and it dropped, there was an Arsenal player there waiting for it. Both defensively and offensively, they have got the details, the fine details down. We sometimes have that. It's very much Glasner's way of operating, but you can see, because of the kind of, he's frustrated with the start we had in the league. He's really been struggling to kind of get the momentum together. We finally got it. We hit a very, very good team today on the day. Not necessarily, a 5-1, but they were clinical enough to get that 5-1. And to that end, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump to Glasner's comments today.
Yeah, do it. Right.
He said, it's just a little snippet. He said today that in football, sometimes it's crazy when I compare the performance in the first half to the Emirates. It was far better today, but we were 3-1 down. There we had the lead. It's crazy. I thought we did many things well. The first box, I think he means cross, was a cross. The second was a set play, and the third was a cross where we don't mark the man. We defended the box terribly. The quality of their players punished us.
Right.
If you want to beat a team like Arsenal, everything has to be almost perfect.
Yep.
It was not good enough today. We created chances, but the result is disappointing. In the box, too many times we watched players. And that's, I have to say, was one of the things I love about Glasner is he says it how it is, right?
Yes, I don't ever feel like I'm gaslit.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, we defended terribly. We didn't watch players. And he's right.
He's absolutely right.
You're watching it thinking, well, like, surely they've worked on this, but it looks like we're just standing and watching the ball while the players move around us. There's a guy who scored a hat-trick against us 2 days ago, was it? 3 days ago. Yeah. And he gets the first 2 goals. And you're just like, well, hold on. Why is he unmarked to the back post?
I mean, that is inexcusable. Like, watching that goal and seeing him absolutely stone cold unmarked is just maddening. And I'm sure that drives Glasner absolutely batty. I do want to just so we're clear on this, because I tend to be with Animal on this. I don't think we should. I'm not putting this on Kamada. I like Kamada. What I hear about your point on this is that as a starter, and in terms of physicality, he may not give us 90 minutes. But I thought his last 2 performances before this match, and I guess I'll have to watch this one back, there were some moments where I thought he does like a tackle. He comes in, he makes a tackle. He puts himself out there. I think he puts himself out there a lot more right now than Ebbs does. So I like the guy, but we have not gotten the production we need from him. And so I'm sympathetic to your point that he may be a guy that is a really good game changer coming off the bench, and he may not be a starter. That may be where we get to, but I'm not of the this is all Kamada's fault. So I'm with Animal on that point. But I love what I want to get back to what you said about Glasner. This is what makes a game like this so maddening, because I get the feeling, Hambo, that Glasner sees the game. He sees what he wants to do. He's got a plan to get at Arsenal. Mm-hmm. There was real moments where we got at them, and it looked like we were really going to have a chance to take points from this match. So you could see that he sees it. He knows what he's doing, but he doesn't have enough. And that, to me, is like, January is very important, because I think this is the right manager for Crystal Palace Football Club. Yeah. And we've got to do right by him, because I think he sees what we are capable of, and we just ain't there yet. And that really, I don't think that's on him.
No, I don't either. I don't think he'll be the first one to admit when he makes a mistake. I've got no doubt about that. And I wouldn't say he hasn't made some. And again, going back to Kamada, people might argue once, pushing to sign him might be one of them. There might have been some better options for the Premier League out there. But I do want to address that. I think as much as I brought Kamada up first in this particular show, I don't want to feel like I'm not victimizing him. I'm really not doing that. I'm commenting on, a player I actually think is a very, very good footballer.
I agree.
And I'm not mad we bought him.
Me either.
I just think it's really a case of it'll be next season before we see him at his best. And I'm not trying to use him as a scapegoat or anything like that. That's just not. We don't need a scapegoat. We don't.
Right.
We defended badly today.
Yes.
Multiple people defended badly today. And
Yes.
as a team, we didn't quite deliver. And going back to what you said about Glasner there, we didn't quite deliver what he wanted to. And I do think, playing a bit of devil's advocate, part of that will be that, Arteta and his team would know. They would have just heard what Glasner said after the game, which was we weren't brave enough. And they'll be going, okay, well, they're going to be a bit braver next time. So here's how we're going to exploit it. And they definitely exploited that. They definitely exploited the numbers in terms of when we were pushing to get forward, because we didn't leave much back when we got up the pitch, which again, I like. And that goes back to our conversation earlier about the wing backs and how they've got to have the engine to get up and down, because they've got to be back in there, tucking in a bit narrow, being that extra defender on one side.
Or you end up in those situations if you don't have that. If you don't have, I don't think it's to your exact point right there, Hambo. It can't possibly be a coincidence that the goal that we get is Ty breaking free and putting the ball on Sarr, and he puts a really nice ball on. Now Sarr has to make Sarr really has to finish that incredibly well, and he does. That is a sensational finish. But Ty gets into that position, causes a problem, and gets that onto Sarr's right foot and does it very, very well.
I think, and I'm really glad you gave the praise there to Sarr, because I mean that was
something.
Like, it deserved to be in a different game because it's got really lost in the 5 we conceded. But I'm so happy that Sarr is playing like he is. Okay, he's not Elise, and obviously Elise was there today, as was Wilf, watching the game, which was nice to see. A few other familiar faces in there as well, but yeah, I think Sarr is. We can kind of put that one to bed now. That kind of, we've never replaced Elise. Well, we've replaced him with somebody very different, but somebody who has, in terms of being able to produce goals and assists, he has the capability. He's not there now, but he has the capability of being a real creator and scorer of goals. And that is, that's just what you need. We just need Eze firing at the same time, and then that right. We're a different proposition when that happens.
No, this is the point that you made earlier, Hambo, that I could not agree with more. This was something I was hoping we were going to get more of today with Kamada in there. This is the thing that I really like about Kamada. He makes runs, he makes tackles high up, he wins balls high up. He's a good player, and I thought we were going to get a little bit more balanced on the left side, knowing hopefully we would have more balance with Sarr on the right. When Munoz is, Bournemouth is a very good team, but if we get to Boxing Day and we feel like we've got at least a little bit more balance with Munoz and Sarr on the right, that's a hell of a combination. I'm liking that a lot right now. And maybe, Ebbs finds a little bit more form, out there on the left if he's a little bit better. I don't know. Or you start Kamada. I mean, I want to see as much of Kamada as the situation allows. But yeah, if we get a balanced attack, a genuine balanced attack, we will be lethal. We really will. We have the capability.
Yeah. There's a really good debate going on regarding Eze. I don't know if anyone's picked up before that Animal's not a big fan of Eze. I don't know if that's ever come up, but
no, I just think he's to be fair to Animal here. I mean, I think he's making the point, and I think he is right about this, is that Ebbs, if you just match performances so far this season, would you say that Ebbs has materially done more than Daichi Kamada? I would say no. I'm fully with him on this. I think that Kamada hasn't been great, but I don't think he's I don't think he's miles behind Eze. I don't think either one of them have been up to full standard, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I know which one I would rather watch in the team, and that, again,
yes,
I think there's a I think there's definitely a point to be made there that Animal's doubling down on, and that you're supporting, in terms of you gotta judge people the same. You can't just give Eze as much rope as you like because he's done
Eze.
things in the past and because he's
Right.
Eze. But I would say, again, I would argue my assessment of watching Kamada is that he has not performed anywhere near to the level that Eze has. But if I start to narrow that down to specific games and specific weeks of the season, I can see that there's a more direct comparison to be made. But I'm thinking in terms of what somebody is capable of and shown that they have delivered in a Palace shirt. What Eze has delivered in a Palace shirt is light years beyond what Kamada has.
That's true.
And that
His
doesn't mean that
ceiling
will be
is
it won't be the
bigger.
case forever. It won't. Kamada is a very, very talented footballer. He really is. But it's not too many times he's been in the side and you haven't looked and thought, he's the weak link today. He really is. I'm not saying he was today. He wasn't. Today was much more about defending badly. Glasner said it himself. It was much more about not doing basic, simple things well, to give us that chance, to give us that platform of winning games like this. Because we created today. I think there were some comments I'll just sort of end with that Mark Gay actually made. He said thought tonight it was about both boxes. When you look back on it, we didn't defend well, and a top team like Arsenal will punish you. We have to go again, look at the areas we can improve, and take this game with a pinch of salt. We should have done better with the goal that they scored when it was 2 versus 2. He's talking about from set pieces. But we actually didn't follow our man on the second phase. But actually, other than that, I thought we dealt with the set pieces quite well. So there's a different take there from Mark. He's probably right. If we were to go back and watch that game again, it's probably, we remember the 2 bad set pieces, I guess.
Yeah.
But there was a free header in the box as well. They hit the bar from Gabriel as well.
Right.
So again, I guess it is what it is, but it was a bad performance today.
It is, and it's the fine margins of football, isn't it? I mean, it's the fine margins of football, and we you don't take chances, you don't defend well enough, and this is where I will give Arsenal a lot of credit here. I still think Arsenal fans do have to swallow the fact that Mikel Arteta has never forgotten how to be an Everton player, and he brings a lot of Everton into Arsenal. There's a lot of dark arts. There's a lot of crap that I really hate about the way Arsenal plays, but that's part of his strategy. That's, what? Oh, if he owns it, I'm fine with it.
He does, and it's a badge of honor, isn't it, for him?
That's as a player, that's who he was, and he doesn't shy away from it.
Nope.
It's what they are. So, and fine margins. It stinks. This is a terrible result. But I don't think that this doesn't make me feel like, and I need to run here, so I guess we could close with this. I don't feel coming out of this, Hambo, that we are doomed for Bournemouth now. I feel like this was a missed opportunity. I think Glasner will treat it as a missed opportunity. And so we go again.
Indeed. And I know I will end with similar words, but I know what everybody's thinking. Before we go, we really must know what Jamie Redknapp thinks about things. Because it's always worth knowing what Jamie Redknapp thinks about things. That was slightly sarcastic, I'll be honest. But he said, Crystal Palace had some big chances today they should have taken. David Raya made some really big saves today. If they click and keep playing like they did at times today, they will cause many teams a lot of problems. It wasn't really a 5-1 game today. So that's a fact. Jamie Redknapp has said it. It wasn't 5-1. So I'll let you determine what the actual score was. Thank you for Chris for getting in touch. The rest of you were very quiet, understandably, but sure we will be back very, very soon. Tim, pleasure doing the show with you today.
Always, and always up the Palace.
Up the Palace, indeed. Take care, all. Go to our sponsors. Bye.